Today's July 6th, 2025. Current Bitcoin price is $108,861.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
Happy post-Independence Day, America's birthday, Rick.
That's right.
How was
See how much longer.
Go ahead. No, we're gonna
see how much longer she survives.
Yeah. It's trying times for sure. All the way around.
I don't know. I'm enjoying it though. I'm enjoying it.
You like watching the fireworks?
Yeah.
Both politically and
and physically.
Did you watch the fireworks last night?
Yes.
You get to watch them from your back porch.
Yeah, I need to trim some trees though. My apricot tree has gotten huge and kind of blocking a good chunk of my view.
You're like,
gotta go.
Yeah, get out of there. Get out of there. Yeah, I thought about wanting us to record earlier in the week, and then a lot of other stuff kind of happened, and I think you were kind of busy with some things as well. So we're just kind of getting caught up for this week on a Sunday morning, and always interesting times. Crazy stuff going on, and we'll dive into here in the episode. But how are our theoreticals doing, looking at the prices right now?
Okay, so first theoretical purchase back in October 2023. $3,000 would have netted you 0.0885 Bitcoin. And that investment at now is, what is it, 96.34. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean, we've seen 10,000 before. I mean, just briefly, but, we're not going to get too greedy here. Buy number two, right at theoretical, or at the halving, the second theoretical, $1,000 at that point was basically $64,000 per Bitcoin. So $1,000 would have got you 0.01564 Bitcoin. And at today's price, that $1,000 is now worth $1,703. So still doing pretty good, 70% gain.
Yeah, that's still looking pretty decent. I mean, across the board, last time we recorded, it was June 25th, and it looks like we've seen a slight increase, nothing too crazy, but we've been kind of bouncing around in a lot of different areas right now.
Yeah.
And I think we'll kind of go into that here in a little bit, but looking at the ETF flows too, like we saw, looked like it kind of got quiet around the holiday, which I guess we'd expect here in the States. The rest of the world doesn't care about our fireworks celebrations, but we do here in America. And Canada had their Canada Day, I believe, on Tuesday? I think it was Canada Day. Unless you're in Quebec, and then they did it like a week before because they've got to be different. So I mean, with the first and second, BlackRock did nothing. And then it looks like they started to kind of buy a little bit more on the third. But something you pointed out too, like Fidelity actually outbought BlackRock on the third.
Yep. I mean, just barely. I mean, but still, they outdid them. And on the second and third, it looked like there was $1 billion in gains on those 2 days. A little bit of a 342 loss on the first. So, but for the most part, we're seeing mostly blacks and a few reds here and there. So
yeah, that's kind of crazy when you start looking at that from June 23rd. 350,000 or 350 million, 588 million, 547 million, 226 million, 501 million, 102 million. Like there's a lot of people buying up some Bitcoin during that time. You had one slight sell-off, it looks like, on the first, which is probably people rebalancing, where they sold off 342 million, but then you had another $1 billion the next 2 days that went back in.
Yep. So, I mean, I think that's kind of where most of the support for the price is coming from. I think retail is, I said it last week, I've probably been saying it a lot longer, but retail is not coming back.
Yeah, they're largely absent. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about too is it looks like the reason why we can kind of see that as well is the mempool, which is the number of transactions that are waiting in the queue to get processed for Bitcoin, is actually at one of the lowest levels it's been for quite some time. And that typically means that it's the smaller buyers that fill up the mempool, and there's just not that much movement in there. So it's mainly institutional buyers that are still buying up Bitcoin. I mean, if you pay attention to the news, and I know it's hard to focus on one thing with the news the way that it is, but if you pay attention to the news, whenever they're talking about Bitcoin, like you hear a lot of treasury companies that are starting to arise that are putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We continue to get kind of news about states trying to get strategic Bitcoin reserves. There's still a lot of hubbub coming out of Washington about some of the strategic Bitcoin reserve and just how that's going to kind of play out and how that's going to get shaped. One of the big things that they wanted to get that Genius Act through first. And it looks like that's still moving along pretty well. Once that's finished, then they'll start focusing on how they're going to treat Bitcoin. So it's kind of wild time still and kind of weird, but we'll have to kind of see how that plays out. And there was something that in the price that I know you brought up that we'll touch on here in a second. But one of the first things, and I think we want to just kind of bring this up as a public awareness for anybody that may have older Ledger Nano S. It looks like the hardware device originally from Ledger that was launched in 2016. They retired it actually in 2022, and I believe they replaced it with the Nano S Plus. It still works, but future updates they're not going to be supporting, basically. New chain or app support. A lot of people are very concerned about this, and I think it's fair to question. I mean, there's been a lot of what would you say? Is it negative PR that Ledger has done, or they haven't handled it the best way?
I just don't think they're being as forthright as they should be.
Yeah,
and they're kind of letting people know a little bit late. I don't know. They've just gotten a lot of slack lately in the Bitcoin community. And I know there's a lot of people who just will not buy Ledger wallets going forward, period. So
yeah. I've had a Ledger S for an Nano S for a long time, and I think I just recently purchased a Flex, just because I was like, well, I probably do need to get a newer one, and it kind of became a pain with the Ledger Nano S's because if you had anything other than Bitcoin, which I don't have nearly the number of altcoins that I used to have, but if you had anything other than Bitcoin, like it was hard to load all the different coins onto the ledger because of the space was so limited. So you always had to kind of unload and then reload. And I mean, you could do it. It was just a little bit time consuming. So yeah. So they say that the device will still work. It's just no longer going to get updated, which means, I mean, if there is security vulnerabilities or anything like that, that they're not aware of or that they find, then, they will not update those there. But on the plus side, like if you're still willing to stick with Ledger, you buy a new device, you put in your original seed phrase and everything, it just gets updated to that device.
Yep. So that's basically what you're recommending. If you have an old S, you're getting rid of it, buy a new one, load in the seed phrase, and voila.
Yeah, just keep it going. I mean, some people are saying, you should always have multiple hardware devices, hardware wallets, which I'm not against. I think if it's better to hedge your bets in as many ways as possible. That way, if something does get compromised, whether it's through something malicious, eventually they find that they're able to exploit on any hardware wallet, and I don't care which company it is, or if, through your own ignorance or irresponsibility, like you allow somebody access to your hardware wallet. At least if you have it kind of spread out over a couple different devices, then they don't get the whole kit and caboodle in one go,
Right.
So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's kind of shady on Ledger's part, or do you think it's just, I mean, that's how technology works and hardware becomes outdated?
Yeah, no, I think that's how, like I said, everything becomes outdated. And you were talking about the new wallets where you type it in, and I mentioned that I think it's a good idea to be doing those type of wallets going forward, because if you're doing things on your computer with AI being on them, I mean, all your stuff is going to get compromised if you're punching it in on computers.
Yeah.
So the more you can avoid doing that, the better for you long term.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how that stuff is recorded. I think it'd be I haven't done this and I'm kind of scared to, but just talking to AI that you may have interacted with in some way, shape, or form. Just curious how much it knows about you. And I don't even know if you get an honest answer if you asked AI, like, so what do I mainly have been doing on my computer? Like, if it's actually watching all that stuff, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But
Well, I would assume that's what it's been doing.
yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a safe assumption. And especially as more and more computers, like even if you don't technically pay for some of these different softwares, like if you're running Microsoft 365, you've got Copilot on your computer, even if you're not paying for it.
Yeah, you try not to use it, but no, it has the Copilot thing on there, on the symbol on
Mhm.
the like I said, the 365. So all your different, Word, Excel, etc. programs, it's in there.
Yeah. And just to remind people, like if you are kind of new to the hardware wallet space, and it's any hardware wallet, do not make a Word document of your seed phrase. Don't take a picture of it with your cell phone. You got to do the old school pen and paper. You do not store that stuff digitally.
Do not,
Do not back
because
it up on your computer. Do not do anything like that.
no, because there's programs actually, malware that goes through your computers and looks for those type of things. It looks for seed phrases.
Yep.
To steal them.
Oh
So
yeah.
do not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and people are like, well, I'll take a photograph of it. Because I mean, how much of that stuff, we back up stuff all the time with just our phones. I took a picture of something the other day. I was trying to find Apple ID for my mom's phone, right? And I know I snapped a photo of it because I'm like, that one I don't care about. Like, she doesn't have any payment information or anything like that on there. So I had a photograph of it. But like, if I can access it, the computer can access it. Like anybody that can access any of those accounts can get in there and see those things if they really want that info. So
Right.
yeah, just don't back up seed phrase, especially when you're dealing with anything that could be, even if you have, I don't know, like even if it's a smaller amount of Bitcoin, like eventually that could become worth a lot of money.
Yes.
And to have that taken from you would just feel awful. So yeah.
I don't know. It gives me the creeps right now. It hurts my stomach just even thinking about that.
Yeah. I'm like, and that's where I'm like, well, maybe you want to have multiple hardware wallets, kind of spread across. That way, if one does get compromised, maybe it's not everything at once. I don't know. I hate to think about that, but it's still a possibility. Anyways, we were talking about Bitcoin price this week. We saw a lot of those inflows off the ETF that we were looking at. We hit, what was it, on the 3rd?
Yes.
We saw a rejection off 110.
Yeah. Touched 110 and rejected off of it. So it seems like it's kind of a lower high, because before that it got up to 112 when we got to the new all-time high, and then it maybe got to 111, getting to 110. So it's kind of a lower high going through this, and kind of a wedge pattern forming on the lows as well. So they're getting a little bit higher on those lows. So price just seems kind of weird. Hopefully it breaks up, but there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because right now we're looking at like resistance levels of 109.8 thousand, 110.8 thousand, and then 112. Basically because 112 is our last all-time high, right? So
Right.
those we've got some headwinds in front of us to get through those prices. So will it push through? Who knows? I mean, there's a big possibility that we won't. I still don't think we're at the top of the cycle. You and I have talked about this.
No, but we're now in that window where it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's either going to be, I mean, we still have I don't know, couple months. It could go a little bit further than that, but I mean,
I was going to say 3 months. I think we have another quarter left.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, because when we topped out in the last cycle, it was still in November, right?
Yep. November 2021, right when we started this podcast.
Yeah. Topped out, and then we saw the sell-off. So I don't know. It's a weird time. We were talking about that, I think, before we kind of got going. Like, this is a weird cycle. It feels odd. And I still don't know which way everything is kind of heading. But part of that too, like we just got news that Trump had, and I think it happened actually on the 4th that he signed it. The big beautiful bill got passed. I think the thing is 800 pages. It's a huge, I don't know if it's a beautiful bill, but it's a huge bill.
Big bloated bill.
Big bloated bill. It's adding $3 trillion in new debt to our deficit, and adding an additional $5 trillion to the debt ceiling. So that means inflation is going to be on the rise. What are your thoughts? Where do you think this is going to go?
I don't know. I don't think that it portends well for the dollar. I think it will for Bitcoin long term. We know that Trump and Elon have basically split over this issue.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to say about Elon, he tried to get in there. He's one of the best capitalists. As far as getting stuff done, he runs Tesla, he runs the Boring Company, SpaceX,
Neuralink.
Neuralinks. He's got all his hands in a whole bunch of different fires, and he's making progress. And these aren't like small things. He's like the Michael Jordan of all tech entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I've heard that said by another tech entrepreneur. Like, he does like things that, no other human being can even come close. And even his history before that, like with PayPal and stuff, he's incredible. And he got into the government. He couldn't get a damn thing done.
Yeah. Yeah. That should tell you, not even just, I don't even think it necessarily just comes from Trump. I think that's just the government entrenched in general. I think that's why, like, Trump won't be able to get a lot of the stuff done that he wants to get done. There's a way that they have to play ball. But yeah, I've heard multiple times, like, Elon Musk is the world's best capital allocator. And even if he's not the one personally designing the car or doing all this stuff, they say that whenever you can get, like, as an entrepreneur, to get people to work towards a common goal is one of the hardest things you can do. And he apparently is very good at motivating teams and getting them moving in one direction. So,
yeah. And just the blob, as Mike Benz likes to call it, which I love, the blob wins.
Yeah.
The blob is that establishment that's just not going anywhere, that makes their money, and they're going to resist everything. And they won this battle. So I think the dollar, long term, the dollar is toast. And I really do think that Bitcoin maximalism is going to be our way out of this. In the not too distant future.
And just as kind of a reminder too, like, back in 2020, the last time that one of these bills was passed, like one of these spending bills like this, Bitcoin increased in price 38% on that news. It wasn't all like within a day, but that happened shortly after the bill was signed.
Yep. Yeah. I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but I do think it's going to be good for Bitcoin long term for sure. And I think even the short term.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a red flag for fiscal sanity for sure, but it typically ends up being a green light for crypto and Bitcoin.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting times. I think I still think the right answer to be is not zero right now with Bitcoin.
Yep.
Get in there.
I think the minimum you should try to be aiming for, if I was advising a very close friend, say it was my twin brother who never got into Bitcoin, I'd say get to 0.1 as soon as you can.
Yeah. I strongly agree. I think even though we've talked about this, it's getting harder and harder. And I think even for people that are worth, a net worth of sub, few million, getting to 1 Bitcoin now is becoming increasingly more difficult. So even if you can get to 0.1, and it's interesting how that kind of dynamic has changed, because last cycle it was get to 1 Bitcoin. This cycle now it's like we'll get to 0.1. I still think that can be life-changing money for a lot of people in the future.
With enough time, yes, it will be.
Yeah. You've got to give it time. It's not going to be, next week. It's going to be a little bit of time, but I think that can be life-changing. And if you can get it, just take it and stash it somewhere, you're golden.
Yep. Just don't store it on a Nano S wallet.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Like you can even still get, I think you can still get some of those like Kilara Bitcoin bars and stuff like that and put some Bitcoin on there and just put it in a hole and dig it deep and bury it and don't forget about where you put it.
Yep.
Spread it around. Yeah. So, and speaking of that, we do have the links on our website to get the ledger and the LPAL. And yeah, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think that's it for now. I mean, not a whole lot's happened this past week, but I think things are going to get exciting.
I think so.
One way or the other.
I agree. Yeah, I feel like, man, I have felt this way for probably the past couple of weeks, maybe 3, where I'm just like, it feels like we are about to move, and I don't know which way we're going. I'm assuming we're going to go up because of past cycles, but we may have
even if it goes down a little bit. I'm not too phased by it.
Yeah, I mean
we went through worse.
That is completely possible that we'll see like a fake out down to 90, and then it'll just pop. You know,
yep.
It may not just be straight up, but you may have a breakdown. You may shake out some of those people that are just sitting on the sidelines, like, or they're waiting for, you know, they may be over leveraged longs, something like that. And they're like, okay, we're going to shake you out first. So you'll see that big old drop down. They'll clear all those people out and then it'll move forward. So be careful when you trade with leverage.
That's right.
I just don't trade. That's all there is to it. Hodl be thy name. Anyways, thank you all for listening. We hope you had a great 4th of July for those of you listening in the States, and we'll talk to y'all soon.